Hi, I'm Mary Lindsay Wilson, and welcome to the Lone Star Dowsers. We have a wonderful mini workshop for you tonight. But before we get started, I've got some announcements. So here we go. I want to just ask you if you find value in the programs that we've been doing. We've been doing this for 5 years now, and if you find that these programs support and contribute to you, please consider making a donation. We have a link in the newsletter, a couple different ways that you can make a donation. So that would be appreciated. We want to keep things going. And we partner with other dowsing groups, and they have some announcements. So if you want to practice your dowsing and also be of service, there is an aid and relief from fires, drought, heat waves, and floods every Tuesday at 8 o'clock Central. The Tucson Dowsers meet on Zoom. So please consider joining us and inviting the nature spirits to bring rain to the drought-stricken areas. It's a short event. It's about 15 minutes. And there's also Dowsing for the Planet every Thursday night on Zoom. That's at 8 o'clock. And this is a weekly meeting that's hosted by our friends from Australia, Heather Wilkes and Francis Peterson. It's Dowsing for Healing Australia and Beyond. And I also want to say shout out to all the folks at the Aurora Chapel that are at the watch party here in Houston. Thanks for joining us. And tonight you're in for a treat. We have Susan Collins, who is a international dowser who resides outside of Toronto, and she's going to show us how to clean our psychic closet. So, if you've ever wondered if there's something rattling around inside you or maybe preventing you from the experience that you want, the life that you want, there can be different things that are hidden and that we can identify and resolve these old issues and create more harmony and happiness in our life. So Susan has quite a very impressive CV, but I'll just mention a few things. She's an internationally acclaimed author. She's a consultant. She's a workshop leader. She's got a dynamic professional practice. So if you'd like to reach out for a session with her, she is available for that. She uses traditional dowsing tools as well as the power of the heart and thought to detect and transform non-beneficial earth, environment, psychic, and other energy patterns. She's led workshops and presented conferences across North America, the UK, Italy, Japan, West Asia, North Africa region, all over. She was also featured in the Resonance documentary. You'll have to tell us about that. And Susan is a past president and Dowser of the Year of the Canadian Society of Dowsers. Additionally, she's an ordained metaphysical minister. She's got tons of books available through Amazon. She's got workshops that are available on YouTube. She has different tools. So we have a wealth of information that we are going to learn with Susan tonight. So welcome, Susan.
Thank you very much. That was a wonderful introduction. I appreciate it very much. So we all know, I'm assuming most of us are dowsers, and we'll review some dowsing techniques as we go. But dowsing is such a broad topic, and there's so many aspects of it. So tonight, when we're talking about cleaning out the psychic closet, I'm going to focus mostly on archetypes and vows. So the energies that are in us on average that maybe prevent us from being what we want to be. So I have a PowerPoint presentation I'll go through, which is how I do my workshops. And we'll present some techniques. And then we have a case study to do at the end, which is always fun to actually apply the knowledge. Because in a workshop, you sit there and you listen, but it's let's apply it and then share our ideas if you're comfortable with that. So I'm going to share.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to say too, my intention in doing this is to educate and inspire and help people learn new tools. So that's what we're doing. So make sure you've got your pendulum handy and a piece of paper.
Great. So I'm going to share my screen if I can figure out how to do that. and you're going to tell me that you can see it.
Yes,
Hide
yes, we
fluid
can.
and meeting controls. All right, clean out your psychic closet. For me, this is actually a picture of my daughter. And she was so happy. We're at Monument Valley, and you look at the shadow. She's leaping up, leaping for joy. And she was younger then, and sometimes we lose that freshness and joy of youth. And so, if we can clean out some of the old stuff, we can resume our joyful lives. And there's a picture. There's another picture of me jumping beside her, but it was nowhere near so impressive. So, as mentioned, my name is Susan Collins, and I'm an ordained minister. By law, I must say my religion is metaphysics, which is the study of the nature of reality, and I have spent my whole life doing that. My colleague, now gone, White Eagle, gave me the name Carrier of the Sacred Water, Water Woman, some years back, and in recognition, I do water wells. In addition to the other psychic work and all the rest of it. And you, Sandy Mack, maybe on the line. There she is, past president of the ASD. My colleague Graham Gardner and Nancy Bradley, who was president of the CSD at the time. I studied extensively with my now deceased. One of the things, always study with the oldest people that you can find because they're going to leave us. But this is Many Horses, who was a Canadian Wet'suwet'en native elder. And where I live, north of Toronto, we still have residual native presence. So some of my clients, we have, big new houses, and my clients will see a native person in the kitchen, for example. So we have, and you probably, I think all across North America, we have, because we're a very new continent, we don't have that much history, but the native peoples persist in many ways. And we don't always they have a different role, and we work with them. Let me just say that. So Many Horses, my friend and colleague, I was honored to do an initiation with His Holiness the Dalai Lama about 20 years ago, the Kala Chakra initiation, the Wheel of Time. I've studied in the Celtic tradition, the Kabbalistic tradition, which I love very much, and then I do weddings. And to be in the presence of love, it's the purest thing. To hold a child, to be with people in love. It really takes you back to joy. And we are trying to, of course, to live in joy and happiness without the fears that we have. So this is not a picture of me, uh, because they hadn't invented color photography when I was born, but I used to play inside a stool because I was clairsentient when I came in, which means I could feel things around me. And in my day, nobody talked about it. So I think it's important for each of us now to share our experiences, particularly with children, so that we normalize these sorts of extrasensory experiences. But I would play inside a stool. I was afraid of the dark until I was 45. So I thought everything was out to get me. I was very fearful. And now I'm not afraid. And what a liberation that is to not be afraid. And that's because I have more understanding. I've answered many of my questions about the nature of reality. And I now feel like I'm coexisting with many of these things that used to scare me. I had a big corporate career. Um, and then in 1982, at the age of 29, I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. So I've been in rehab for 40 some years. I raised my children with splints on my hands. My hands were claws. They didn't open or close for years and years and years. Around the turn of the millennium, I found dosing, and that began to really change my life, to realize that I could work with energy. I could detect energy and transform energy in myself and in my environment. So for the last 40 years, my path has generally been self healing, and also explaining and interacting with these other energies, which we'll go into a little bit. One of the things I found, I've been drug free for 20 years, which is amazing to me. But I found through all those years that the autoimmune disorders, rheumatoid arthritis, and many of these things can be the self not recognizing the self. So I recognize now that I came in as a little tiny human. I came in with a certain soul mission. I talk about earth mission, soul mission. And and they didn't talk about that in my day, but I was meant to do something. I was making money. I was going to be the president of AT&T, do all this stuff. And then I got so sick I couldn't do it. So it's like the universe said, no, you've got something else to do. So sometimes we're just unlucky, or sometimes it's our genetics, but sometimes if you can figure out what am I supposed to be doing? If you've got symptoms of a disease, we talk about finding the source of symptoms. If you have the symptoms of a disease, you might think about what you might be learning from the experience of having the disease, or from things that you're not doing. Along the way, I wrote all these books. The Get Healthy with Dowsing and Get Happy with Dowsing are the two that relate most to this. These are all available on Amazon now. So you can order any of those. And then the life cards is like a card deck, a fortune telling card deck, although it's not fortune, it's life path kinds of stuff. So it was a tremendous, if you really want to learn a subject, you teach it. So I've taught little tiny 10 people here and there everywhere, and then larger groups and larger groups. And in the meeting with people and discovering their issues and finding different ways to resolve them, there was a lot of information there. So I've really worked with the intuitive brain and the left brain, the analytical brain, and I've been gifted with the ability to write, and design and produce and do all that. So that's that's the information there. So tonight, I would like to look at dosing techniques first, just to review, just to make sure we're all on the same page. Psychic protection, extremely important, because I have to say about a third of my clients are people who are working with energy professionally in some way. They're channeling, or they're a medium, or they're whatever, and their protection as they go into these different altered states um, isn't always perfect. So I'm going to share with you my dosing protocol, which is a big thing with psychic protection. But start with psychic protection, and if things are falling apart for you, take a step back, take a breath and go into your own spiritual tradition, whatever that is. One thing with teaching in these different countries and different cultures is that I can't present it as a religious thing. So if I go to Japan, for example, it's Shintoism and Buddhism. In the Middle East, it's Islam. In North America, there's lots of Christians. So we have to broaden in a more scientific way, take what we do out of a religious aspect and into a scientific aspect, which reminds me, which it's something I realized, perhaps you are familiar with, I can't remember the word at this moment, but you hear music and you see a color.
Um,
Synesthesia. There it
yeah,
is.
I have the gift of synesthesia.
Synesthesia. So some people, they hear music, they see a color, they see a letter, and it's the crossing of the senses. And for me, what we do, the way we interpret, and the way I interpret energy is electromagnetic. I'm interpreting electromagnetic fluctuations. And I realized that the sixth sense, being electromagnetic, we can call our psychic ability electromagnetic synesthesia, which takes it into the realm of science. And people have studied this, and it's actually a medical condition. It's not the woo-woo, it's science. So I always try to bring things into science. So if people ask you, if you only take that away, so dosing is electromagnetic synesthesia, anybody can do it. We're tuning into radio waves, TV waves, and we're tuning into the essence of the universe. It's a fabulous thing for me. Anyway, we're going to look at conscious and unconscious patterns, and then archetypes, which are embodied roles. So we'll talk about it, and vows, and then we'll do a case study. And please put questions in the chat, and Mary will bring them along. So I did these life cards, and I'll hold them up here. As I prepared tonight, I asked, what is the most appropriate life card to begin with? You can do different types of readings, but pick one card. And what is the card that came up? It was for tonight, it was pity. Pity steals strength and creates shame. And I actually laughed when that came out because I think pity is one of the most destructive emotions there can be. That pitying somebody takes away their power, in my opinion. You can recognize somebody has a problem, or you can recognize you have a problem. Self-pity there's no power in that. So that's how we're starting the night, looking at pity as what is the role of pity in our lives and in what we share with people. So I'd like to talk about detached compassion. I see you have a problem. Can I help you? Rather than pitying somebody for something. Anyway, you can comment on that if you like. My definition of dosing is applied consciousness. So in the scientific realm, engineering is applied science. So professional engineers, they study civil engineering, mechanical, electrical. It's really applied science. So consciousness to me is pervasive. It's everywhere. And dosing is a way of applying consciousness, of focusing it down. Another great guy for tonight is Carl Jung, who was a psychoanalyst from the 20s, 100 years ago, I guess, more or less. He and Freud he was a Freud student, in fact. But I love this quote: "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, in order to avoid facing their own soul. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." So that's a very hard journey. It's the shadow work, if you're familiar with that kind of thing. That and for so many of us, we don't want to burden others with our pain. They say, "How are you?" "Oh, I'm fine," even though things are not so fine. So actually sharing our pain, and this is not about pity, but sharing our discomfort, our unease, and then talking about that with somebody, and then they get to share their unease and their discomfort. That can be extremely useful in creating health for people. So the other thing I like to throw in here is I do ghost busting and alien busting, and many people I work with talk about sending figures into the light. And I would like to say, not everything wants to go into the light. If you've got a little mole, a little bat or something, and its little spirit is hanging around, it does not want to go into the light. Because it's a creature of darkness, and there's nothing wrong with darkness. So the phrase I use is home. Do you want to go home? And I offer to take extra consciousness, is what I call it. I facilitate them getting home. And for me, I'm like a social worker for the spirit realm, if you want to call it that. Another fun quote: "Sometimes the chairs that prevent us from being free are more mental than physical." So there's a horse, he's tied up to a plastic chair. Obviously, that horse could do anything he wanted, but it's like, "Oh no, this is what I do. I stand here." So it's always a challenge. It's hard to be fresh. That first picture of the young girl jumping as high as she could is the freedom of self-expression. So you can take a minute, make some notes. I hope you're making a couple of notes. Um, what are the ties, imaginary ties? What are the habits? What are the habits that keep us standing in one spot? Okay, so let's get down to the dosing aspect. So I gotta find a pendulum. There's one. Um, so practice. So before I dose, I always practice show me yes, show me no. I'm gonna hold my hand up here, and we all you may have different signals for yes and no. I always, if you've never dosed before, you can pick up a pendulum or anything, a necklace, about 3 inches, and then you can just kind of get it slightly. Don't hold your hand up like this. It's going to be down at your waist, but I'm just doing this so you can see. Just get it going slightly back and forth and say, "Pendulum, show me my yes. Show me yes, show me yes, show me yes." For me, it's clockwise. And saying it out loud seems to help. Once you've got your yes, give it a tap on the table, hold it up again. "Pendulum, show me no, show me no, show me no, show me no." For me, it's counterclockwise. Other people, it's straight up and down or sideways. As long as you practice until you know what it is. I remember somebody did a session on me years ago. We got halfway through the session, and then she said, "Oh no, my yes and no are reversed." So everything she just told me was the opposite, which was very confusing. So yes and no. Point two is very useful if you're doing water wells or anything like that. But I use this plus minus chart, which is like a protractor. It's got 0 in the middle, line and number 0, and then on the right, plus 10, and on the left, minus 10. So when you're using charts and the overall benefit of doing something, it's always good to have the negative range on there as well, the minus range. So that you know, for example, I'll just show you a little example on this, and I'm saying, point to the line. I know you can't see this, but it's the best we can do. Point to the line and number of me drinking pure water. It's plus 10. I give it a tap. I start back at neutral. Show me the overall benefit to me of drinking gasoline, minus 10. So that's an extreme example. But the point to is very useful. And of course, you can always use little L rods and point to things. I don't know if you can see that. So that's handy to know. And then the disconnect. So for me, informational dowsing is yes, no, but in my opinion, and in my experience, we can remove non-beneficial energy. So we spend most of our time detecting what is the problem, what is the source of the symptom, what is the problem. We detect that, then we remove that, and then replace it with beneficial energy. So I invite you to pick up your pendulum again and just get it going back and forth and say, pendulum, show me the disconnecting motion, the removing motion. For me, it's counterclockwise, which is the same as my no. And that might be for you. If your no is sideways, then your disconnect might be sideways. It doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong as long as you know what it is. So disconnect, it's like pulling the bathtub's overflowing. You want to pull the plug and turn off the water. So, and then bring in the good stuff. So maximize. So now you've gotten rid of the non-beneficial stuff. We want to add beneficial energies. So again, pick up your pendulum, get it going a little bit, a pendulum. And I say pendulum, I'm addressing the tool. It's not that the tool has consciousness, but it's my mind-body system. And of course, it's me moving the thing. It's not like a ghost is going in there moving the thing. It is the subtle muscular variation, electromagnetic variation. Anyway, get it going back and forth and say, pendulum, show me what my maximizing motion is. And for me, that is clockwise again. So we get yes, no, is the source of the symptom in this lifetime? Yes or no? Disconnect the source of the symptom and then add the antidote, the remedy, if you will. Now, here's another big thing of mine with my language. People talk
Can I
about,
ask you a question really
Yep,
quick?
sure.
Is it always necessary to know the source of the, I don't know how you worded it, the
The
problem,
symptom. I talk
the
about the source of the
disconnect,
symptom.
the symptom, the source? Is it always important to know the source of the symptom? Do you have to know
One,
that, or can you just say as a
get
general?
rid of it.
Yeah.
You would, that's a question you would actually dose. So if you're in the
Okay.
middle of a situation and you're doing the analysis, and you would ask your guides, and we'll talk about that in a minute. How do you do that? You would ask, is it necessary for me to know the source of the symptom? And if you get yes or no. But things can be in past life, things can be in future life. I don't know if people are looking into their future lives or present life. They can come from all kinds of places. For me, if you know really the source of something, it's easier. And we do this with the amygdala as well, which is the part of the brain that holds emotionally traumatic memories. And I had a client once in her 50s who was getting up at every 3 hours all night long. She couldn't sleep. And we went back, what's the source of that behavior? And when she was a little girl, she used to wet her bed. So like she would get up, her mother would get her up, and she'd have to go to the bathroom every 3 hours. And that lasted most of her life until her 50s. And so then once you bring this forgotten stimulus to consciousness, then what I said to her is, well, you could wear adult diapers, or you could just, not drink after 6 o'clock in the evening, something like that. So for me, it can be very helpful, but it's not always necessary. So back to my lecture now on positive, negative. Positive and negative, in my usage, are electrical charges. So people and our bodies are electromagnetic systems. There's a therapy called polarity therapy. We want our electromagnetic system to be in balance. When people sometimes ask to remove negative energy, they may be taking out of whack their electrical balance. So for me, positive is positive charge, negative is negative charge. When I want to refer to something that's not good for me, I refer to non-beneficial and beneficial. So is the apple beneficial for me to eat, as opposed to is the apple good for me? The example on that is ice cream. I say, is ice cream good for me? Yes, because I like to eat it. Is it good for me health-wise? It's a no. So beneficial for humans, beneficial to cats, dogs, whoever whoever your client is, you want to focus on that. Okay, so that's my lecture on that kind of stuff. The plus minus chart we've talked about. So, and I will say, please show me the overall effect of whatever it is. Yeah, whatever it is. What came to mind was sun exposure and alcohol, the two things. You might say, the amount of time I spend in the sun, what's the overall effect on me? Or the amount of time I spent, because I've had last year some skin cancers taken off, because in my day, of course, we lay in the sun and put oil on our bodies. So the overall effect on me now of laying in the sun in my youth, what is that? And I can do this with my pendulum. It's a -4, -5, all that time I spent in the sun. The other way to ask the question is, what is the overall effect on average of me being in the sun today? Let's say that. The overall effect on me of being in the sun these days is about a +3. So it's that fine line, cover up, all those things. So it's a very handy chart. I like to be very precise and logical. So now I invite you, and everything is an invitation. You don't have to do this. And it will be, take it as information, and it'll be up on YouTube, so you can do it later if that's what you choose. But I ask, are the energies around me, say your own name, are the energies around me now beneficial? Yes or no? Yes or no? Are the energies around me now non-beneficial? Yes or no? Are the energies around me neutral? So, and if you want to put that in the chat, I mean, this would be fun for the group to kind of go over. If things around you are on average beneficial, that's a good thing. If they're non-beneficial, things fluctuate, they come and go. You may have experience in doing clearing things, that you go in there, you clear it, and then it all comes back. So things fluctuate, so things come and go. The neutral energies, if you got that one, I used to not worry about neutral, but then I wondered, well, why are they neutral? Is there a potential? Is there something waiting? This is the paranoid talk. Why are those energies hanging around? Are they waiting for something? Are they waiting for an opportunity to do something, either good or bad, beneficial or non-beneficial? So just make a note of that. And then psychic protection. So of course we all Neo, right? Keanu Reeves. So important before you do any work, and close your session after. But maintain your sovereign being. So it's you. And we are, no matter what other dimensional energies are visiting and hanging around us, in our human bodies, we are the authentic souls, authentic bodies, meant to be on the planet at this time. So that makes us, we are the sovereign beings. And these other things, which do come in for sure, 100%, and they're kind of poking around at us. But if you can maintain that, I call it a high pressure system almost. If you can maintain your high pressure system, it's like nothing gets through here. And we know we have our aura, and we just fill that with good energy, beneficial energy. Stay conscious. A lot of people, when they dose, they go off to La La Land. I mean, no insult to anybody, because honestly, I can't see you, but people, they'll get their pendulum going and they'll stare at it. And it's like, no, ask your question and put it down. Stay conscious, stay present. And I remember doing orbs. I've done a lot of orb photography, and people get the picture on their camera and they're so excited that they forget, you know what, you just called an energy in and it is right here. And they disconnect from the experience. So you have to be fully in your experience in every moment. Just be fully awake. Physical objects help, jewelry or whatever, something to remind you. That's why we wear rings and fancy jewelries and stones and feathers. Protection while you sleep. That's why everybody invented prayers. For me, before I go to sleep, I will do some protection and I'll ask to receive useful information when I wake up. And that works pretty well. And then the dosing protocol. Okay, so I'll send you, my email is susan@dowser.ca, and that's up here. If you send me an email with protocol in the subject line, I will send you, it's a 2-page PDF, simplified here. But I invite you to pick up your pendulums and do it with me now. I'm going to do it with a bobber, and you guys have probably seen a bobber. It bobs up and down. This is so I don't have to keep my hand up. But I invite you to do it together, and I'll send you the PDF if you want it. So we balance the physical body. So make sure before you're dosing, for example, that you've got water, that you rested, that you don't have to go to the bathroom. You've got time. It's not like, oh, I have to go out in 5 minutes. You have the time. You connect. These are the things I connect with: my human body for my good health, the intelligent and beneficial energies of nature, the divine source, and my spirit team. That's all I connect with. And that's my little, I call them my posse, actually, that it's like a submarine now. Like I'm in my little submarine, and with honor and respect, and through my spirit team, I'm looking at, accessing, interacting with other types of interdimensional energy. And then at the end, I come back in. So this it's taken me a long time to do this. And I thank my many teachers who have helped me along this path. But I want to share how to protect yourself. The forgiveness is really important. Creator, forgive me. I forgive myself. I forgive all those who harm me. I release them from my body, mind, and spirit. Step 4 is the disconnect, and we saw the motion for that. So we're disconnecting non-beneficial energies. I've got a lot of words for that. And once we started doing vaccines, it wasn't just the energies we're disconnecting, it's the processes, biomechanical, biochemical, bioelectrical processes of the body. So if you can disconnect non-beneficial processes, that really starts cleaning out your body. And we do this every day, twice a day, and boom, you're done. You got to keep doing it. Step 5, you maximize the beneficial energies. If you're dosing for someone, number 6, seek permission to dose. Dosing is the easy part, seriously. Number 8 is to create an ongoing energy system to automatically update these changes, to make that transformation. We ask for transformation at the appropriate rate and intensity. For example, if you want to lose 20 pounds as quickly as possible, you could be in a car accident and they cut your leg off. So we don't want that. We want as appropriate in the most healthy way.
This
And
is
then number
number
9,
8.
that's create the ongoing energy matrix. It's an ongoing system to automatically updating. So let's say an example on this, and I want you to have this technical information, because once we get to the archetypes and stuff, this is how we do everything. This is the method of doing it. Let's say we determine whether it's in the body, it's a physical system, or it's what I call an extra consciousness, which you might call a ghost or an alien or whatever. Let's arbitrarily assign a frequency of 100 to this non-beneficial frequency. And then you're starting to do your work and things are getting better. And instead of it being 100 frequency, you actually improve yourself and it's 99 frequency. But if your programming is still based on that 100 frequency, it's now like you're missing. So when you first develop your program, you're hitting it dead on. But then as the situation changes, unless your programming changes with it, you've missed Mars, right? You didn't do the calculation for Mars. So it's extremely powerful, ongoing system, automatically create the perfect conditions so that I experience perfect health in all aspects of my being. So this, this language seems, oh my God, there's so many words. But I do find that if you can laser your brain and your words and hit the target, then everything else kind of falls into place. So I encourage you to try it. Number 9, disconnect. People just walk away, put down this has happened to me back in the early days. I'd be in session, the phone would ring, I would forget to disconnect, and then the rest of the day I'm like lying on the couch going, what happened? It's because I'm still in that other energy without disconnecting. So always close the session. Number 10, thank the energies that have been helping you because there are out there. And then 11, communicate your results appropriately. Not everybody in the world is ready to hear the kinds of things we do, which is why this electromagnetic synesthesia is a great thing. It's like, oh man, how do you do that? Well, it's electromagnetic. They won't know what you're talking about, but it doesn't scare them as much. So a lot of my work has been not to scare people. I call myself a personal management consultant. And try to present as a normal person in the world. And I think we get a lot done in that way and remain powerful. We have to remain, it's not the time for the hermits, right? So let's move into patterns now. And if you've got questions on this, please just put them in the chat and then Mary will bring them up as we go. So an unconscious pattern, and that's really, we're talking about this kind of thing tonight. It's, you a knee-jerk reaction. You're driving and you say something, you do something, or or somebody you're very close to says something and it just triggers you like crazy. So a knee-jerk reaction or habitual behaviors, like that darn horse being tied to a plastic chair. It's just standing at the chair, it's like, oh, I don't know, I'm just going to be here without, it's the hardest thing probably is to be fresh every day, to wake up. I would usually start the day was like, what's the one thing, that I can do today? And it's like not a big list. And maybe I'll get 2 things done, but it's something. Let me focus towards that one thing. And I find that helps me. Negative self-talk. And we see and hear that all the time. It's people say, oh, I'm so stupid, I always do that. Or when my kids were young, somebody in our mother's group had a same little baby, a few months old, and she nicknamed her child Little Brat. So that child grew up being labeled Little Brat. And like, how's this child supposed to have self-esteem? Like, we may forget these words, but we remember. And maybe, it's done with love, but naming things can be very destructive. So, and as we say, don't say don't. The universe will hear what you say. Don't, if you say, don't give me X disease, what is the universe hearing? Oh, X disease, that's the thing. So I invite you to say things more like, I ask for my body to be healthy. I ask to experience good health in all aspects of my being. And so I had, seriously crippling arthritis for many, many years. And my journey's all been self-healing, and I am doing very well, I must say. I won't bore you with my success on that area.
We had a question. Can you please explain the balancing of the positive and negative charge in one system at some point?
The balancing, well, first, well, here, I
Or
don't
do
want to
we
run
want
up.
to
Well,
tackle that towards the end?
no, I will do it now. Like we don't want to run out of time. We have 45 minutes or so, right?
Yes.
Okay, already. If a question comes up, we like to address it because if there's one question, everybody has it. I invite you to pick up your pendulums and say, pendulum, show me positive charge, which is electrical charge. Tap it. Pendulum, show me negative charge. Tap it. Okay, now take your hand over your pinky, say, pendulum, show me the electrical charge of my pinky. A ring finger, show me the electrical charge over my ring finger. Show me the electrical charge over the next one, and over the next one, and over my thumb. And if I could see you, I'd be seeing what you were doing, but what you will notice, well, let me first, and I invite you to douse, is that the most appropriate electrical um, signature from my hand. Now, some of you may be doing Reiki, so when our electrical systems are changing all the time, when we're practitioners doing Reiki or massage, it'll be different than just being normal people. But for me, and what seems to be healthy is my hand, my fingers show alternating positive, negative, positive, negative. The top, you can do the top of your head. What's my electrical charge on the top of my head? And what's electrical charge at your feet? What's the electrical charge in front of your body? What's the electrical charge behind your body? And you can just intend that, because you can't get back there yourself, electrical charge behind. So and then ask for each of those things, are those the most appropriate charges for me so that I experience good health? Depending on what you're doing. If you're studying hard, or if you're working hard, or you're cooking or something, more energy in our hands. But you would determine what is the current charge, ask if that is beneficial. If it's not, ask, can I change the electrical charge on my body or whatever it is you're working on? Can I change that? Do I have the ability to change that? Can I use the dowsing protocol to do that? Probably get a yes. And then you would ask, MSI is changing brainwave states. You would ask, I ask that all my body's electromagnetic systems be in perfect balance so that I experience ongoing perfect health. And I ask that this continue on an ongoing basis. And for me, it's not just physical, it's physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, energetic. So we ask, and this is what the protocol does really in the full form, that all aspects of my physical being be in perfect health on an ongoing basis. So there's that. But let's carry on unconscious. Before it was conscious patterns. I know I get upset with my friend because they always say that, and it makes me crazy every single time. But the unconscious patterns, we don't know why we're doing that, but it's things that are forgotten, like the little story about the woman who was having to wake up every 3 hours because when she was very young, she had to pee in the bed. So we've forgotten those things. So this is an example of, is it important to know the source of the symptom? It could be a forgotten event. Outdated survival mechanisms. We find a lot of these things. So, and is it from this life or another life? But perhaps one had an abusive relationship at one point. So, so some eating disorders may be based on this. And I'm not a doctor, so I can't comment medically, but my understanding is that sometimes if people are being abused, they will create their body, they'll eat too much so that it's a protection almost. And I don't want to go into that particularly, but so it could be from this lifetime that let's say, and I hate to talk about abuse, but that's really that's where our pain comes from a lot of the time. Let's say you're in school and one of the teachers yelled at you and they had a bright green jacket on. And now every time you see that bright green jacket, you're triggered because you think you're going to be yelled at. So you shrink down and then you don't put your hand up, you don't participate. If it's from a past life, an outdated survival mechanism could come from, and check that. I invite you to do that right now. Do I have it? Do I say your own name? Have any outdated survival mechanisms? Do any come from past lives? Do they come from this life? Do they come from future lives? And it's pretty interesting to see what comes out of the future. That's a whole other kettle of fish. So outdated roles and archetypes. I can say that some people growing up, let's say there's different kids. Some of the kids don't behave well, and then there's the kid who behaves well, and then the family kind of relies on them to be the good person, to look after mom and dad, to to
The
put the money up.
caretaker.
Yeah, yeah. So this is one of those things. So it's an outdated role. And then as you grow up and you have your own family, you don't want to be the one that's always making all the bookings. Like, why are we the ones always arranging everything? Why don't other people do it? As long as we keep doing it, they will keep making us do it because we're making it ourselves do it. Anyway, outdated roles, outdated vows, and these can be, we're going to give some examples a little bit. It could be military things, vows of service. Strangely, maybe not strangely, up here near Niagara Falls, one of the wars was fought, the War of 1812 between the Americans and the Canadians. Don't know if you knew that. And there was a lot of fighting right in where our orchards are. And people sometimes see the soldiers still there. I had one client and her her place was kind of infested with with ghosts. And I went in there and it was like the soldiers, they were dead, of course, but they'd never been dismissed. They had made a vow of service and they had never been released. So we released them. So that's something to think about. We'll talk more about vows as we go, because that's what we're doing. And then inherited blocks. So it was like everybody from my village, it works in the mine or gets married at 17 or does whatever they do, is poor. And then, so I guess I'm like that too. For me, it's always amazing when we see presidents of countries and leaders of industries. Well, where did they come from? And they grew up in some little town. Abraham Lincoln was one of these guys, just a cabin in the woods or a field or something. But if you again, you think of that horse with the plastic chair, it's like just because you come from nothing doesn't mean you are nothing. You become a sovereign being and you define your dream and then create it. And then parts of soul lost. So people talk about soul retrieval. I talk about soul repair. Um, and where are we retrieving the soul from? I believe the parts of the soul kind of splinter off and then hide in our bodies. So again, using the example of abuse and the overeating, it could be that the part of the soul splintered off and then it's like hiding in the body, in the intestines, and creating the microbiome in certain ways. Anyway, you can generally dose these things either now or later, but are any of these things prevalent on average? And then mental triggers, again, that's just, oh, there it goes again. So let's keep going here. Conscious patterns is remembering an event when you fail. So all that other stuff was like forgotten, stuff in the amygdala, but this is conscious. You remember, oh man, I'm never gonna try public speaking because I got up there and they laughed at me. So I'm never doing that. So that's a conscious pattern. So as what fires together, wires together, your brain is hearing you. Everything you say, your brain hears. So the hardest thing for us to do is to look in the mirror and say, oh, you're so beautiful. Looking at yourself. Oh, my goodness, you're smart and beautiful. That's very hard to do because we look in the mirror and we see our flaws. And then our brain and our body go together and say, yeah, I'm really wrecked. So we need to reverse that kind of thing. We get what we think about. If we think about horrible, then that kind of the universe is kind of listening to that and creating it. So carry on. Okay, there's an example of the vows, these military folk, and we find them quite often. The other one is the religious vows. And a lot of us in the energy world have made vows of one kind or another. So let us look at some. I'm only putting like 4 or 5 up here. And if you want, you can, I've got it in my books, of course, but you can just type in archetypes or type in vows and you'll come up with a long list of them. So the question is, with your pendulum, if you choose to do it, is the energy of, and let's pull up the list, active in me, beneficial or non-beneficial? So I'll just read this out loud and nobody's looking at your pendulum, so you can just do it. Keep it below the screen. Is the energy of the vow of celibacy active in my field on average? And then give your pendulum a tap. Is the vow of guilt active? Is the vow of invisibility? These may sound like odd vows, but some of these come out of old religious orders. Is the vow of invisibility active in my field? Is the vow of obedience active in my field? Is the vow of penance? That's active in my field right now. Ooh. Is the vow of poverty active in my field? Is the vow of silence? So maybe you're making notes on that, but then is there another one? And this is a very short list. Or are you lucky enough, and is your dosing accurate? No vows. I don't have any vows. But if you have these vows, they could be beneficial or non-beneficial. I'm using myself as the example. I currently have the vow of penance active in my field. Is it beneficial for me? No. So that would be something I would work on. And think about it. Like, why would I have that? Now, let's look further. When was the vow created? So maybe you're making some notes here. Was that, I'll do it for myself. Was the vow, of whatever you have, was it created in the past? In the present? In the future? Again, using me as the guinea pig, mine is created in the future. A vow of penance created in the future. Was the vow created in this dimension or another dimension? I'm going to just sidebar a little bit in dimensions. What do I mean by that? We're familiar with 4 dimensions, basically, up, down, dimensions of a box plus time. Quantum physics gives us 11 dimensions. The 11 dimensions are curled up in the string theory, if you know about that. So 11 dimensions, and we wonder, where the heck does all this stuff come from? How are these things, how is these consciousness coming into our little limited box dimension? But we're wrapped up in these other dimensions, and we don't necessarily, nobody understands them. Even the quantum physicists agree this is non-intuitive, it doesn't make any sense, and yet this is what the science shows us. So when things are coming in out of nowhere, I invite you to ask, is it true? If you're experiencing something and you wonder where it's coming from, you might ask, is this experience coming from another dimension? Has it got anything to do with the dimensions described in quantum mechanics, quantum physics?
And what would that question answer? What I mean, if it was, what
Well,
would that
then you
tell
know
you?
you got something quite weird.
Okay.
So all we're trying to do here, like if you've got a stomach ache, is the stomach ache coming from what I ate? Is it physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, or energetic? So is my stomach ache coming from eating too much pie? Is my stomach ache coming from emotion because I'm so sad? Is the stomach ache coming from mental because I'm having thoughts that I can't cope? Is it spiritual? Is the stomach ache coming because I'm afraid I'm going to a different place than what the religious taught good people go to? I'm trying to be very discreet there. Or is the stomach ache being created by an energetic phenomenon? If the source of the symptom is an energetic phenomenon, then it could be coming out of the multiverse from other dimensions. If it is that, then you might further ask, is this a consciousness that is creating the stomach ache? Is the consciousness willing to communicate? Well, anyway, and the same with this or other reality. What do I mean by that? So, for example, with schizophrenia, I'm just going to say this, and I don't usually use this phrase, but schizophrenia looks a lot like demonic possession. So if schizophrenia is a biochemical disease,
Malady, yeah.
malady, whatever, it's harder to fix. If it is spirit, demonic possession in the field, you've got some extra consciousness in the field that's trying to get your attention, that's way easier to get rid of. And I've actually worked with people, and they've been released from psychiatric hospitals because we cleared off the energy crap from them, the other dimensional things. So if the symptom is from this reality, if the vow, because we're talking vows and archetypes, if the vow is from this reality, then oh yeah, maybe when I was in Girl Guides, I promised to sell as many cookies as I could or something, and now you're going around baking cookies. Like look at whatever kind of odd behavior you have, or maybe somebody has, and what did I promise to do? The other vow, it's the marital vow. I didn't put that up on the list, but folks who get married and say, I will love you forever and ever and ever, and I will never, ever, ever leave you. I've had to do ghost busts on the dead ones on that. One of my first ones, I found this gentleman, dead guy, who was hanging around the apartment. And I said, oh, sir, I see you there. Sometimes we have to tell them they've left their bodies. Sir, I see you there. Can I help you? Which is how I always start. And he says, yeah, I'm waiting for my wife, because he had died first. So then I worked with the energies and determined that the wife had died long ago. So I say, sir, your wife's already gone. You might as well go ahead and catch up with her. And immediately just gone. So there's no big drama. It's just where are these things coming from? Reality, and then this or other frequency. So these are the questions that kind of open up the whole can of worms, really. It's just, I have a stomachache because I ate bad tuna fish, or do I have a stomachache because there's some ghost guy that thinks I'm his dead wife? Big
Okay,
difference.
have a question here. So, for all married people who, have gotten a divorce, um, what's the quick and easy releasing of the
You
vow?
just disconnect. It's step 4 of the protocol. You disconnect the vow.
Okay, just disconnect
Yeah.
the vow.
The hardest thing is figuring out where it is. The easiest thing is getting rid of it. Dis
Ah.
yeah,
So once you
disconnect.
locate where it is, where that energy is in the field, then you can disconnect from it.
Yeah. And then you ask your team, do I need to know more than this? Because sometimes you don't. It's just like, honestly, the story, it sounds terrible, but you obviously, if I'll just blurt it out,
Yeah.
clients want to tell the story. And it's like, you know what? If talking would have fixed your problem, you wouldn't be having this problem. So I always say, give me in point form, bullet points. What's the issue here? And then we go and find the source of that. But the long story of, self-pity, going back to that word, um, it keeps you like that horse tied to the plastic chair. Oh yeah, that's my story. It's like the elevator speech that we all rehearse. But for me, with the protocol, and I credit all the teachers I've worked with in the last 25 years or so, and all the clients I've worked with that have shown me where it needed work. And there's a lot of words in there, but it's like everything that, and I update it every, whenever I get something new, I update it. But if you can stay focused, you just disconnect the thing. You find the thing, disconnect it on an ongoing basis. Um, and I'm going on again. Most of the effectiveness, a lot of the effectiveness comes not from, and I said that, I'll use myself as example. When my hands were claws, I tried getting rid of, it was rheumatoid arthritis. And I thought, how am I going to mentally, complete this journey, the things that I need. And I thought, I'll have a 20-year party and then it'll be done. Um, and then finally, I heard a native woman say, heal me if there's anything wrong and give me the wisdom to share. So instead of asking, dear God, please heal me, it's like, heal me if there's anything wrong so I can share that with other people. So being in service, whatever you do, whatever you ask for, you can ask to be in service. So if you have children or grandchildren or people or pets, or flowers or community or the weather. Dear God, please, and I say this when I was out teaching, I couldn't believe it my first big trip was to Kuwait, and I had simply made the statement that I give me the resources. I want to travel. I want to travel and teach dowsing. Give me the resources to do that. Within 3 months, I'm invited to Kuwait to teach, and it was like, whoa. It was such a big response. And I went. I never even spoke to the person. It was all by email, and flew over there just all by myself. And I was still pretty crippled, and it was like, give me the strength to drag two suitcases around the world and share. Give me the wisdom. Heal me if there's anything wrong. Give me the wisdom to share. So ask for your good results so that you can help others in some way. One client, her service, like some people look after living pets. One client, her service turned out to be looking after the spirits of dead cats. What? Because like there's a lot of roadkill and a lot of animals are put down. And her heart was big enough. She had living cats, but her heart was big enough that she was creating a place where these little souls could transition. So nobody knows what your service would be, or it doesn't. You pick up the litter on your street, or it doesn't. It doesn't matter what it is. But if you ask just for you, it's not as good as heal me if there's anything wrong. Give me the wisdom to share. And that works.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I heard that on the radio one day, and I thought that is so profound. Like I've talked for an hour probably already, and and that's the nut of it. Heal me if there's anything wrong. Give me the wisdom to share. Let's quickly look at archetypes, and if you can see in this, I was in Japan, and there's a big castle up here, and they have cut out figures, and you're supposed to put your face in there. And that's a perfect example of an archetype that we're carrying on the role of something that we are not now. So let's look at a few examples of that. And again, the archetype is the energy of, we're going to put the list up, active in me, is it beneficial or non-beneficial? And there it is. So I'll do it with you. Is the energy of being a hermit active in me? Beneficial, non-beneficial. Is the archetype of being a hero active in me? Give me a pendulum a tap. Is the archetype of being a judge active in me? Give it a tap. Is the archetype of being a martyr active in me? And you could say on average, because when we say just in this moment, that little archetype flies out the window, but you can say on the average of the last week. Or if you think of a set of circumstances, maybe something that didn't go well in a meeting or with the family or whatever, you could say during that meeting with my family, was that archetype active in me, or vow, or whatever it is? Is the archetype of a scapegoat active in me? Is the archetype of the slave active in me? Is the archetype of a victim active in me? And those are all kind of bad ones. There's obviously nice archetypes as well. But I think whether it's a good, an appealing archetype or a non-appealing archetype, you don't want to be run by archetypes. You want to create, that picture at the beginning, this young girl leaping for joy, fresh life, creating life in that moment without the burden of archetypes. Now, there's one other thing that I want to ask you here. The Bodhisattva, without knowing what that is, I invite you to douse, and I want to hear in the comments, is the archetype or the vow of the Bodhisattva active in me on average? Say it on me. Are the vows or archetypes of the Bodhisattva active in me on average? And I'd be curious, about a third of my students have that. The Bodhisattva is a Buddhist concept and vow to remain incarnated until all sentient beings are enlightened.
Whoa. We have quite a few yeses in the
Yeah.
chat.
So then ask if that's beneficial. Is the vow, if
I'm
you've
not
got,
gonna know. Yeah.
if it's the vow of Bodhisattva, is that beneficial to me? If that's so powerful, that one, if it's beneficial to you, then you know you can draw on the divine to assist, to share the wisdom. If it's not beneficial for you, then you, step 4 of the protocol, disconnect. You just disconnect any of these vows that don't serve you. Take the wisdom from the past, don't try to recreate it, as one of my teachers would say. Okay, we're roaring on here. Keep going. Again, as we did with the vows, was that archetype or role created in the past, present, or future? This or another dimension? This or other reality? This or other frequency? I'll give you a minute on that. You might ask if, when I did the initiation with His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, I for sure did not want to make the vows of the Bodhisattva, because that's what that whole thing is. But it turned out I had already made them in some other lifetime. So I could choose to rescind them. I did have a student once in a class who said, "Oh, I don't want to have that, because it was too much for her." So I said, "Well, you could just disconnect it, step 4." So she disconnected it, and then she said, "Oh, I feel funny. I think she said, I feel like power leaving me. I feel weak." So if you can align yourself with beneficial vows and archetypes, and be in service, then that will help you create your earth and soul missions and create your happy life. If you find yourself, you're pretty much inundated with non-beneficial vows and archetypes, it's start clearing out the weeds there. Step 4, disconnect on an ongoing basis at the most appropriate rate and frequency. Okay, got 20 minutes left. Now you know everything. Let's have a case study. I have permission to use this person. We're using the initials LR. The issues being financial and work, not getting the work even though qualified. So from the little bit of work we've done, I'd like you to, let's do it together. It's not daunting. I can hear somebody say, "This is too much, I can't do it." Yes, you can. And I often get accused of teaching too much, but I respect you enough to give you a full plate. And if you miss some of it, don't worry, because some of it is meant for some people and some for others. So if this is going fast, but you can handle it. Just, I invite you, looking at LR. So first, close your eyes. We don't know who LR is. I do, but and my shoulders are going. You notice that? When I am encountering an energy, so before I was just talking, now I'm going into a dowsing mode, and my shoulders started to go, and that's my physical response to feeling the energy, right? So I might sigh, changing brainwave states, I close my eyes, and I might get a little shiver. When I douse, by the way, when I'm connecting in with that protocol, I'll get an electrical charge down my spine, little shiver. Feels like you're cold, but it's you're plugging into the universe. Anyway, so, and again, put your comments. Let's all together do the first one for LR. With regard to LR's issues with regard to money and getting work, are there non-beneficial vows that are contributing to their experience, contributing to their experience? Are there, for LR, are there non-beneficial vows contributing to the experience of problems with money and getting work? Okay. In the past, were they created? Are they created in the present? Are they created in the future? And this may be a new concept for you guys to dose the future. Let's thinking about the future. It could be a future, and then if it's future, if you get future, is it a future life, different body? Or is it future life, this body? Big differentiation. So the question of what's the source of this, if it's some, I was gonna say a bad word there. I find the future selves are often quite busybody. And they're just trying to help us. Our future selves are trying to help us. But honestly, they got to stay over there, and we have to be sovereign beings in these present current bodies. My body, my planet, kind of thing.
Do we want to
Let's
talk about the chat or keep going?
Well, let's
Should we just keep going and then kind of review?
I think so. I think so.
Okay.
So, because I'm aware of time. Okay, so let's all once again focus on LR. We have to keep bringing ourselves back, right? This is the mental side, the focus. Focusing on LR and the issues with money and not getting work. Does LR embody archetypes on average that prevent them from having financial success and work success? Is LR embodying archetypes? Please put your comments in. Mary's going to have a lot to read at the end here. Is it from, let's use the other, are the archetypes coming from this dimension? Are the archetypes coming from another dimension? Okay. Now, every single list I do always has other, because it could be other things. For example, psychic chords. Let's just, as an example, throw psychic chords in there. Okay, focus once again on LR. Focus on the financial issues and not getting the work, even though qualified. Are there, on average, non-beneficial psychic chords in LR's field that are contributing to the financial and work issues? Yes or no? Then let's go to do they come from this reality? Do they come from another reality? Check. It's like, reality, yeah, that's a real thing. Or reality, we used the example of schizophrenia before, but imaginary as well, like the fantastical. Like people get caught up in some fantastical non-reality. And role playing and games and all that is fun, but people, some people are spending too much time in basements playing video games, and that becomes their reality. So discussion. Mary, do you want to read that out? My internet connection is unstable, so if I
Sure. Okay. Okay. Someone had an answer that the energy came from the past and the future this body.
Is this
Um,
vows or archetypes?
um, I think this has to do with the vows. The I got vows present. I had future, but it kind of, when I asked again, it kind of got unclear.
Did anybody have mentioned specific vows or
Um,
archetypes?
no, we didn't. So, yeah, so let's douse real quick to see what
If
vows.
anybody wants to type that in, were there any of these specific vows or other, or are the same with the archetypes?
I'm getting guilt and obedience.
Okay. like we're all we all have been raised to be good, right? You know,
Okay, archetype energy. Okay, everybody douse and put your thing about the archetypes and see what shows up.
does anybody find hermit, hero, judge, martyr, scapegoat, slave, victim, or other?
I get victim.
Let's get victim. Put a just write victim in the chat.
Okay.
If no, for the
So
folk.
we have scapegoat and victim, and someone else got yes, hero and hermit.
Is then like we a lot of us have these things. The next thing you want to do is look at the intensity. So you might pick up your plus minus,
Someone else
and you
put
can
poverty in past, present dimension, and reality, slave. And then there's another
right.
hero.
So that's intense.
Yeah. Yes.
Let's say that nicely, right? So then now we've named some of these things. So you might pick up a plus minus, and you probably you can always use your hand too.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just say was one of those slave that you said?
Slave showed up in the chat. Yeah.
Okay,
The
so you
victim.
would get your plus minus and say, please indicate to what extent the archetype of slave is contributing to financial things. And I for that one got a +4. You might also go to -4, but I asked it on what's the
Different way.
contribution. But I could also ask the other way. Please show me the overall effect of having the slave archetype in the LR's field, and then that goes to a -4. So the words are so important.
Boy, when I
Then
asked, please show me the overall effect for victim, it goes all the way to the
all the
negative,
way all the way where to the
all the way negative, like the maximum
okay.
negative.
Yeah, so the overall okay, so once you know that, then pick up your pendulums and say, am I, say your own name, able to disconnect inappropriate vows, archetypes, outdated survival mechanisms, psychic cords, and any other energy factor that is inhibiting my ability, in this case for LR, to to experience financial success and fulfilling work. And I use the word experience in there because I think, because like some people are rich, but they don't feel rich, they feel poor. So I want to experience good health. I want to experience financial success so that I can serve others. So that and it doesn't have to be, we're not talking about putting people back into slaves and all. Um, but if there's a reason, yeah, for me, my example, which blew me away, going from teaching locally 10 people at a time to asking to travel the world and teach dowsing to make money. And I'm on a plane to Kuwait within 3 months. And then, Japan and Italy and all over the place. It's like, okay, here we go. Be careful what you wish for also. And if you ask for this, then you better pay attention. Or if spirit gives you information, don't ignore it, because that short circuits the whole thing. So what we have is a conversation, a dialogue with whatever you want to call it, spirit, extra consciousness, all that is, um, the great sine wave in the sky.
Okay, so when I asked, can this be changed? I forgot your exact
No, it's
wording.
not change,
Um,
disconnect.
can it be disconnected? It was yes. So then what?
Step forward
So,
the protocol. Let's do it. You know what? I actually, one of my slides here is the balancing. I'll do it for everybody. Do I have that on? Okay, so normally this is quite normal. We get to the end And then we got, oh my gosh, I've got all these things written down. So this is, I will do the words. And you guys, you can put your hands on your hearts, or you could pick up your pendulums and you could go along with it. You could put
So,
your
so
hand on a
everyone
piece,
can disconnect from the non-beneficial vows and archetypes that they've done, or in relation to money or whatever, correct?
whatever. Yeah. Like
Yes.
this was just an example. The LR thing was, I'm grateful to have a case, like a real case study, because it makes it real then. It's a visceral sense as opposed to the theoretical. And hopefully you guys made some notes as you went through, and even if you've forgotten something, it's like the known unknown. Okay, I need some water here. Hang on. Everybody take a glass of
I
water.
would say we all need some water.
Yep. No, it's a long time. It's thirsty work. And you know why we need water when we're dosing? Because we're picking up the electromagnetic signals through our muscles. A well-hydrated muscle conducts electricity. That's why we need to drink water. Super important. In case you didn't know. Okay, so this is, I invite people to participate or not. This is your journey. I'll just do the generic words and I'll say in the name of God. And so this clockwise for me with my bobber is yes, counterclockwise is no, counterclockwise is also disconnect. Don't worry about it. And the ready position for me is up and down. So say in the name of God as appropriate, on behalf of the current participants in this meeting, taking into account the future viewers who will be participating in this meeting in the future through YouTube or some other recorded means, or through the oral transmission of this information within dowsing groups or families between contacts. That's like everybody. So best, and I say this all the time, best and highest good as appropriate. With our intention, the intention is to reduce the pain. That's what comes in. We acknowledge the past, the present, the future. We acknowledge each individual and their private and personal journey. We acknowledge each person as a sovereign being. We acknowledge that each person can look within themselves energetically, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. And some aspects that would be useful and beneficial for them to disconnect. Now my bobber is going into the disconnect. That was all the setup. So as appropriate and at the appropriate rate for each person, we ask to disconnect non-beneficial energies and processes associated with every aspect of our beings, physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, energetic, in all dimensions, timeframes, realities, and frequencies. Oh, I got a good one with frequencies. Disconnect all known, so that each person themselves has the power and ability and choice to create these conditions within themselves, disconnect non-beneficial energies and processes, known, unknown, hidden, secret, stealth, disguised, residual, fractal, fluctuating, reversed, ionic. Ionic is electromagnetic, so we're picking up a lot of that in there. Disconnect non-beneficial psychic cords. I'm picking up a lot of those. Disconnecting each person at their own rate and in a comfortable way for them, as they choose as sovereign beings. Disconnect non-beneficial psychic cords. Disconnect non-beneficial quantum connections. Strong hit on that. Disconnect non-beneficial cellular memories. Disconnect non-beneficial energy triggers. Oh, I got a good, now, I don't know if you can see that. I hope you can. Instead of just the relaxed direction, I actually call this the God moment. And it's like the bobber is creating a star. And that's a very active moment. Maybe some of you are doing that with your pendulums too. But we have set our intention. Oh, look, there we go. Now we're going clockwise. which is the maximizing. So now we can say we asked to maximize beneficial energies and processes for each person under their sovereign control so that each person can experience those things which will benefit them and assist them in completing their earth and soul missions on an ongoing basis and as appropriate. And in their territories. That brought it to a stop. When I'm not manipulating the tool, but I say the words, if the thing keeps going, it's like, oh, there's something else to say. And it was going, and then I added in their territories, which means that the stuff we are responsible for. So, so I invite you to pick up your pendulums and ask, do I say your own name, have a territory? And then you can, is it beyond my body? Is it beyond my house? Is it beyond my street? Is it beyond my town? Is it beyond my city? Is it beyond my country? Is it beyond my planet? Is it beyond my solar system? Is it beyond my galaxy? Is it beyond the universe? And people type in where's your territory? I had one client, her territory was 8 inches from her hands. She was a celebrity hairdresser, she told me after. Wow, right? Some people, the territory is the garden next door. But I'd be curious to hear where your territory is. Okay, we just got a couple minutes. I just want to finish off the slides. So I've got all these books. They're all on Amazon, free Prime delivery. And I have all these YouTube things. This is a beautiful little promo, but go on my YouTube channel and you can watch all those things. No, oh, no, I'm going to do it. No, no, no. And that's me. And now I'm going to stop the share. And I'm going to I want to do a life card. So remember I had these cards. Remember the first one was pity. So now I'm asking for a theme. I'm on my desk over here. And I'm asking for something that will be useful for us going forward. I'm just shuffling them blindly. This is the one that comes up. Oh my God, truth. You see that? Truth. When you hear the answer, you will recognize it. There we go.
Feels very apropos.
Well, that worked. Whew. You never know what you're going to get. So there is anything else in the chat?
So as we did that, we cleared the case study. I mean, it cleared everybody on the call and present and future, correct?
Well, did it? How do you know that? Did you dose that?
I'm asking.
Oh, well, I would say absolutely not. If it was that easy, we wouldn't be in this world, right? It's a process. But what we've given you tonight is like the tools to do this. And for me, it's the protocol, at least in the morning before every single client. At night, people who still have trouble and they're only doing the protocol once, I say, well, do it twice. So if it was that easy, we wouldn't be in this business. But that's how you do it. It's work. It's work. What were we asking now? I wanted people to tell me whether your territories would. Does anybody, how far do people get? Anybody go beyond the galaxy?
I got to my city. I'm not seeing anybody. Let's see.
There's no right or wrong answer on this, but it's fun.
We had a question. May I ask for? Oh, someone got the universe.
Terry Clunk.
Yeah.
Hello, Terry. I think I've
someone
stayed at
someone
Terry's
has
house in
this
the good old
galaxy.
days. Yeah. It's pretty wild. Like, what does that even mean, right? What it means is that you're not the only one. Sometimes it feels like everything is too daunting. How could little me possibly do these things? And then you find out other people like us have territories and we can work together. Even if we never meet them, we have the energy. Dear God, give me the ability to connect with individuals who can assist the Earth and Soul missions. Like with the Australian Dowsers and the Tucson Dowsers, doing these big outreach programs. That's good. A lot other people do it. We just do the best you can. Theodore Roosevelt said, do the best you can with what you have where you are. Don't wait. And don't think the work is ever done, because it's not. That's an encouraging statement, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, we had people all, yes, and lots of expansive beyond the universe. Yeah, lots of fun things.
And how many bodhisattvas were there? Whole bunch? Yeah, there you go. I love you all. Yeah, what does that mean, right?
Yeah, very
It's exciting.
interesting.
It's exciting. It's exciting with Zoom that we can connect so many places and and be together and share our knowledge and tell the children, right? Tell the young ones, talk about it. I'll tell a short story. I had a client with a little girl. They said, oh, she's seeing things or something. We did a ghost bust on her. They called me the next day and they said, we went downstairs when we finished, and she was crying. And they said, why are you crying? She said, all my friends left. They got up
Mm.
physically and left. And they said, how long have you been playing with them? All my life. This kid was 5. So we have to share this with parents and with children and to say it's all normal. I do free consultations for children, by the way, who are experiencing these things, because that's the right thing to do.
Because you're in service. Yeah, that's wonderful.
It's the service.
Thank you. Yeah. All right. There's a lot of love in the chat. This has been amazing. Thank you so much, Susan. Wow. I'm gonna have to integrate and go back and
Yeah,
play
yeah.
with the protocol. Thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome. So send me anybody who wants it, Susan@dowser.ca. It's also in all my books, and you can get them on Amazon too. So
Wonderful. Well,
thank
thank
you.
you. I want to hit our stop record.
It's nice to see everybody.